Hi everyone, this is Karen from the Historical Society of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. As you can see, today we are in historic Montgomery Cemetery. This cemetery was founded in 1847 as a non-sectarian cemetery. Located in what is today West Norriton, just along the border of Norristown, the cemetery is situated on a bluff overlooking the Schuylkill River. Today we are aware of at least 6,000 plus burials here that are marked by headstones or monuments. However, when looking at historic newspapers like the Times Herald and the Norristown Daily Register, we notice that there are actually several more people, potentially upwards of 400 plus extra people, who are said to have been buried here but do not have a headstone as of 2023. Based on newspaper articles, it appears that the vast majority of these people were likely paupers and thus either did not have next of kin or were unable to pay for burial services. HSMC's current president, Charles Kelly, had done a lot of research on the individuals who are said to have been buried here according to the newspaper articles. The first incident of such a burial without a headstone was in December of 1889. On December 13th, 1889, an inmate at the county prison in Norristown committed suicide. His name was Fetzko Davidyak, and because he was a pauper and they were not certain of the next of kin, they were looking for a cemetery to help bury him and perform the last funeral rites. Now, at that time, most church cemeteries would often refuse to bury people who had ended their life via suicide because at that point it was considered a sin. Being a non-sectarian cemetery, Montgomery Cemetery did offer to bury him here in 1889. Fetzko was laid to rest at Montgomery Cemetery on December 18th, 1889. He was buried in what was called by the Norristown Daily Register as the poor lot of Montgomery Cemetery. For paupers in the county, funeral and cemetery workers would generally only charge the amount of money it would cost to provide the basic funeral services and burials. The county commissioners in 1889 supplied $10 to the undertaker and cemetery to allow for this burial cost to be covered. As of 2023, we don't know exactly where the poor lot of Montgomery Cemetery is. However, there are several places where folks like Fetzko may have been buried. Along the sides of the cemetery, there are individual lots that were sold to people who either had less money or didn't want to be buried with family members. The rest of the cemetery is mostly made up of family plots. It's also possible that these folks like Fetzko were buried towards the back of the cemetery. There are a couple of open spaces towards the back of the cemetery. One is by the Hartranft monument. There's also a large empty space in section V, which is behind me in the cemetery. Hopefully someday we will be able to figure out where these people were buried, as Charles Kelly's research has to date found references to potentially upwards of 400 plus people who are said to have been buried at the cemetery, but to date have not located any headstone for them.